Our Father, who art in heaven, as a body we congregate in these council chambers. We pray for thy divine guidance, that we may do all things well, according to thy holy will. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Bond. Mr. Clark. Here. Mrs. Stickler. Mr. Blair. Here. Mrs. Hanahan.
Here.
Mr. Sankey.
Here.
Mr. Mumper.
Here.
Members are present. We have 3 requests to amend the agenda. The first is to add an administration report from Mayor Williams. The second is a letter from Keith Moore regarding council to go into executive session that we would add as the last communication, so communication number 8. And then a resolution in opposition to the tentative agreement between the City of Cincinnati and Hamilton County Commission as to the management of the Metropolitan Sewer District that we would add under introductory readings of resolution as resolution number 2. Mr. Mumper.
I move we add the 3 items you just mentioned to the agenda, as it says right here in front of us, too.
Seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo. Yes. Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sankey.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. We have two sets of minutes on July 5th and July 11th, and I'll note that there were just a couple of little typos in the July 5th special meeting. Those have been corrected. There was no change in the minutes, just a couple of little typos. So in case you saw those, they're all corrected. It's your pleasure. Mr. Clark.
Move to approve the minutes as of read.
Seconded by Mr. Bonsall. Is there any discussion? Mr. Clark.
Just want to thank Mr. Gears for the very thorough, I know that was a long meeting, very discussion, but I appreciate the full feedback and her summary.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Agreed. The motion on the floor is to receive them, or to accept the minutes and receive and file them. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. We will now move out of regular session and into a public hearing. So I will declare the public hearing open. We will have a public hearing. The first is a notice of public hearing to consider a planned unit development zone change from light manufacturing M1 to light manufacturing planned unit development M1 for the parcels including but not limited to identified by the Hamilton County Auditor as 3000 Harris Avenue with the appropriate book plat and parcel number, 3001 Harris Avenue, 3002 Harris Avenue, 2935 Duck Creek Road, 3004 Harris Avenue, 3010 Harris Avenue, 3000 Duck Creek Road, with the appropriate parcel numbers listed as well. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the placement of the planned unit development over those parcels of property? Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of those changes? Hearing none. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the planned unit development overlay on those identified parcels of property? Anyone who wishes to speak against? Hearing none, I will declare that public hearing closed. We will now go to another public hearing. We will open that. This is a notice of public hearing to consider a planned unit development zone changes over the following property: heavy manufacturing M2 to heavy manufacturing planned unit development for the property identified by the Hamilton County Auditor as 2511 Highland Avenue with the appropriate parcel number as listed in the notice. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the planned unit development overlay on this parcel of property? I believe this is the Perry and Derrick, the old Perry and Derrick property. Yes. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor? Hearing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to these planned unit development overlay? Hearing none, I will declare the public hearing closed. And we will move back into regular session. We do have one request to address council, but it's not on an agenda item, so we will take up that matter at the appropriate time. We have no reports of standing committees of council, so we'll move on to introductory reading of ordinances. The first is an ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the purchase of 2,000 tons more or less of salt at bulk rate and declaring an emergency. It's your pleasure. Mr. Sanker.
Madam President, I recommend we have all three readings.
Seconded by Mr. Mumper. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo? Yep. Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper?
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Please have all three readings.
Ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the purchase of 2,000 tons more or less of salt at a bulk rate and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the purchase of 2,000 tons more or less of salt at bulk rate and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the purchase of 2,000 tons more or less of salt at a bulk rate and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Mumper.
I move the ordinance be passed.
Seconded by Mrs. Stickley. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo? Yes. Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper?
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is an ordinance amending sections 1111.118 and 1121.05 of Part 11 of the codified ordinances of the City of Norwood, Ohio, entitled Planning and Zoning Code. I will note that I had a conversation with the law department earlier this afternoon. This does require a public hearing. We can set that public hearing at this time. He did inform me that if you wanted to have a reading tonight or in the future, we could do that as long as the ordinance was not passed prior to the public hearing being held. So it's up to you, whatever you want to do. We can table this until after a public hearing is set, or you can have one reading now or two readings as long as it's not passed prior to the public hearing. So we have a conversation with Mr. Gears. It'd be our recommendation to have the public hearing on September the 26th. That would give us time to, give us appropriate time to notify the folks that need to be notified of this, and it's going to require an advertisement in the newspaper. Mr. Sanker.
I would say we could vote on it after the public hearing. There's no emergency clause in this as it is anyway.
And I think it doesn't go into effect until like November, sometime in November, where the legislature will take up the issue of medical marijuana. So if you, Mr. Bonsall.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, I mean, I'll be traveling for business on that day, so, I mean, we might want to have a reading or now and maybe a reading before then, just so that you can make sure you have enough to pass it that evening.
Mr. Sanker?
Madam President, that's fine with me. I mean, as long as we make sure that it gets done, if it is something everybody is in favor of doing.
So what's your pleasure? Mr. Bonsall?
Yeah, so I move that we have one reading of the ordinance.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes.
Mr. Mumper?
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Without objection, then, we will set the public hearing date for September the 26th. All right, thank you. Next is an ordinance approving a zone change from light manufacturing M1 to light manufacturing planned unit development M1 PUD for the parcels identified.
I have to do the first reading.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're moving along.
Ordinance amending sections 1111.118 and 1121.05 of Part 11 of the codified ordinances of the City of Norwood, Ohio, entitled Planning and Zoning Code.
Thank you. You want to do this one too? This is going to be a biggie. An ordinance approving, next is an ordinance approving a zone change from light manufacturing M1 to light manufacturing planned unit development M1 PUD for the parcels identified by Hamilton County Auditor as 3000 Harris Avenue, 3001 Harris Avenue, 3002 Harris Avenue, 2935 Duck Creek Road, 3004 Harris Avenue, 3010 Harris Avenue, 3000 Duck Creek Road, with the appropriate parcel numbers. These are the parcels located behind Public Works, Mr. Mayor, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to clarify that. So like behind Playing Card Company and behind the Public Works, in front of Public Works, I suppose. What's your pleasure? Mr. Sanker,
I'd recommend we have all 3 readings.
seconded by Mr. Mumper. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Please have all 3 readings. You get the biggie.
I know. Ordinance approving a zone change from light manufacturing M1 to light manufacturing planned unit development M1 PUD for the parcels identified by the Hamilton County Auditor as 3000 Harris, 615-0019-195, 3001 Harris Avenue, 651-0019-0131, 3002 Harris Avenue, 651-0019-0196, 2935 Duck Creek Road, 651-0019-0192, 3004 Harris Avenue, 651-0019-0194, 3010 Harris Avenue, 651-0019-0190, 3000 Duck Creek Road, 651-0019-0109, 651-0019-0193, 651-0019-0124, 651-0019-0074, and 651-0010-0115. Ordinance approving a zone change from light manufacturing M1 to light manufacturing planned unit development M1 PUD for the parcels identified by the Hamilton County Auditor as 3000 Harris, 615-0019-195, 3001 Harris Avenue, 651-0019-0130, 3002 Harris Avenue, 651-0019-0196, 2935 Duck Creek Road, 651-0019-0192, 3004 Harris Avenue, 651-0019-0194, 3010 Harris Avenue, 651-0019-0190, 3000 Duck Creek Road, 651-0019-0109, 651-0019-0193, 651-0019-0124, 651-0019-0074, and 651-0010-0115. Ordinance approving a zone change from light manufacturing M1 to light manufacturing planned unit development M1 PUD for the parcels identified by the Hamilton County Auditor as 3000 Harris, 615-0019-195, 3001 Harris Avenue, 651-0019-0131, 3002 Harris Avenue, 651-0019-0196, 2935 Duck Creek Road, 651-0019-0192, 3004 Harris Avenue, 651-0019-0194, 3010 010 Harris Avenue, 651-0019-0190. 3000 Duck Creek Road, 651-0019-0109. 651-0019-0193. 651-0019-0124. 651-0019-0074, and 651-0010-0115.
Mr. Mumford.
I move the ordinance be passed.
Seconded by Mrs. Stickley. Is there any discussion? Mr. Bonzel?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I had just a question, I guess, to possibly the mayor. Just, I guess, curious of what led to the decision to want to make this change.
Mr. Mayor?
Very good question, and I appreciate it. It's like in the past, and we've had areas throughout the city that we thought were potential targets for development, and generally, we will move to put PUDs there to protect the best interests of the city. We've done that with Playing Card, we've done it with 3 or 4 different locations, and so far it's worked out well for us. That's the intent of this. So if somebody comes in and they want to develop down there, then this gives us more protection to say what goes in down there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there any other discussion? The motion on the floor is to pass the ordinance. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yeah.
Mrs. Hannerhan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is an ordinance approving a zone change from heavy manufacturing M2 to heavy manufacturing planned unit development M2 PUD for the parcel identified by the Hamilton County Auditor as 2511 Highland Avenue, 651-0017-0031. Mr. Mumper.
I move we suspend the rules, have all 3 readings by caption.
Seconded by Mr. Clark. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair. Mrs. Hannerhan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Please have all 3 readings.
Ordinance approving a zone change from heavy manufacturing M1 to heavy manufacturing planned unit development M2 PUD for the parcel identified by the Hamilton County Auditor as 2511 Highland Avenue, 651-0017-0031. Ordinance approving a zone change from heavy manufacturing M2 to heavy manufacturing planned unit development M2 PUD for the parcel identified by the Hamilton County Auditor as 2511 Highland Avenue, 651-0017-0031. Ordinance approving a zone change from heavy manufacturing M2 to heavy manufacturing planned unit development M2 PUD for the parcel identified by the Hamilton County Auditor as 2511 Highland Avenue, 651-0017-0031.
Mr. Mumford.
Move the ordinance be passed.
Seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hannerhan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. We'll move on to introductory readings of resolutions. First is a resolution authorizing the mayor and safety service director to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission state capital improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs, and authorizing the mayor to execute contracts as required and declaring an emergency. Mr. Mumper.
I move we suspend the rules, have all 3 readings.
Seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Mr. Sanker.
Madam President, I was wondering if the mayor would like to give a little background on this particular resolution.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Sanker. This is normally what we do every year. This just authorizes to service safety directors to put us into the running. We're not going to do anything or take any actions without council's approval. This just sets the thing in motion to put us into the running for it.
Thank you. It was that grant that did Williams Avenue, correct? And Hunter?
It's done a lot.
Yep. Is there any other discussion? The motion on the floor is to suspend the rules. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan. Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Please have all three readings.
A resolution authorizing the mayor and service safety director to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission state capital improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs, and authorizing the mayor to execute contracts as required and declaring an emergency. A resolution authorizing the mayor and service safety director to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission state capital improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs, and authorizing the mayor to execute contracts as required and declaring an emergency. A resolution authorizing the mayor and service safety director to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission state capital improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs, and authorizing the mayor to execute contracts as required and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Mumper.
Move the resolution be passed.
Seconded by Mrs. Stickley. Is there any discussion? Mr. Bonsall.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Just want to thank, the city administration for all the work that they do on these kind of grants. I mean, I hear about other communities that apply for these quite often, and they do not have the success rate that Norwood has. So just happy that they're chasing these dollars to try to make the public infrastructure improvements that we've seen. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Bonsall. Is there any other discussion? The motion on the floor is to pass the resolution. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan. Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is a resolution expressing the City of Norwood's opposition to the tentative agreement between the City of Cincinnati and the Hamilton County Commission as to the management of the Metropolitan Sewer District and declaring an emergency. Mr. Clark.
Move that we suspend the rules and have all three readings of this resolution.
Seconded by Mrs. Hanahan. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Hanahan.
I would like to ask the mayor if he would like to make comments on this.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Yes, I would. As most of you know, it's been in the newspaper and news reported that there's a tentative agreement between Hamilton County and the city of Cincinnati. The agreement is basically 2 or 3 pages. As far as I'm concerned, it's extremely flawed. I can give you a couple of reasons. Number one, as we've been fighting and discussing for years now, is in the 68 agreement, it was said that sanitary sewers and combination sewers would be accepted, storm sewers wouldn't. And so in 1968, they passed this. Well, our storm sewers were separated, but they all went to the same place. And we've been fighting that ever since. I've seen ordinances where it said all sewer systems. Now, the law director has schooled me a little bit in legalities. I got taken to the woodshed. Anyway, we probably not legally we can do anything. I would like to figure out a way where we could get in to see Judge Barrett. I'm not so sure we can. But the bottom line is we got ignored in that. And it all goes to the same place. It's not a pleasant thing, but I can show you on Duck Creek Road, down there at Duck Creek, where the combination comes out. When it rains, to be quite frank with you, there's toilet paper in the trees. And the last time I seen a thunderstorm, I didn't see one roll of toilet paper come down. This is all sanitary sewage that's going into that creek. That's reason number one. Reason number two is I think Cincinnati gets 2 and the county gets 3 representatives on this plan. The rest of us are out. That's a problem. We collect from our ratepayers $5 million a year and send to them. So I believe that for $5 million a year, we should have a say. That's all. Just have some input. We're not here to run things, but we should have an input. The other thing is that there's this tussle between the city of Cincinnati, whose employees, they're being paid to the city of Cincinnati, and they belong to a private pension fund. That's Cincinnati. Cincinnati is the only city in the state of Ohio that has their own pension fund. And if you remember back, there was some time when that pension fund was in trouble and almost defaulted, and they had to bail them out. It's not getting any better. And the way I understand it, it is illegal for county employees, which they will become when the county finally takes it over. And they'll have to be in PERS. But if they leave the Cincinnati pension system, it'll collapse. So there's that dilemma there. Do I think the state legislature will pass this? No. Do I think PERS will accept it? No. They'll do the actuarial studies and they'll reject it because it's a load. If that happens and that thing tanks and the county takes it, where do you think the money is going to come from? It's going to come from the ratepayers. Now, under that consent decree, I think Joe and I first met with them when we first came into office 13 years ago, and they told us at that time, expect the increase to go up 6 to 7% a year for the foreseeable future. They were right. It's gone up. But if down the road, if this thing was to go through, which I doubt, and then that pension system tanks, somebody's going to pay the bill, and we'll be one of them, and we have no say. That's part of my problem with this thing. If you'll notice in the agreement, it says that there's a section of Lower Price Hill that has an odor problem, and they've all agreed to take care of that. Well, what about our problems? We have problems. We have combination sewers. We have storm going into sanitary. Where's our consideration? That's my issue with the whole thing. The other thing I want to say is the employees of MSD are absolutely fantastic. Joe and I met with their billing people 2 weeks ago. They were great, very receptive, very professional, cooperative, good open lines of communication. We have had occasions when they were in town, if our crews was doing something, they were close, they needed the backhoe, we would go help them out, they would help us out. The relationship between the people who perform the service and our people is fantastic. I talked to an individual today. I happened to be down there close to that site, and I seen him there, and I stood out and talked to him for 20 minutes. Great individual. Helped me out a lot. I have requested from MSD detailed maps of sanitary and storm in combination. I don't know how much I'll get. Well, the individual told Brenda, well, that's a large task. Well, I don't care if it's a large task or not. I can give you 5 million reasons why you should get that. So I think we'll get that in the next few days, and we'll be able to show that. But I guess the short end of it is, I'm hoping that council will approve this and we reject it, because I believe that we've got a responsibility to look out for our ratepayers. If you'll notice, being on council, how many people beat you on a daily basis? My water bill's high. Why you keep raising sewer rates? They keep raising them, and we have to listen to it. So maybe now is our time to get some better answers and get some better relief for our ratepayers. One more thing. Also, you'll notice that this year they didn't raise that, increase that much. Well, gee, thanks. You know why they didn't? Because there's audits going on and they're under pressure. And they're close to the ratepayers saying, we're fed up with it. They're about ready to have a revolt. So I'm asking you to review this ordinance, which I'm deeply appreciative of the law department drawing this up and including things in it. But I'm hoping that we can pass this resolution unanimously and send it to them. It's not that we want to fight. Yeah, yes we do, I guess. But we want a seat at the table. We want to have a say in what goes on in our city. For some reason, I was told today, for some reason they got together. And nobody can figure out why. All of a sudden, after years of fighting, it comes down to 2 or 3 pages. It comes down to 2 or 3 pages. Even though it's small, there's a lot in there. And I believe it affects us, and I think we should at least make our feelings known. If you got any questions, I'll be more than happy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does anyone have questions of the mayor? Does anyone have comments? And the motion on the floor is to suspend the rules. Are there any other comments? Mrs. Hanrahan.
I would just like to thank the mayor and Joe Pierce for all the work they've done on this. I know you've been working on it for quite a while.
Yes, we have. And now's our time.
Thank you, Ms. Hanrahan. Any other discussion? Mr. Bonsall.
Thank you, Madam President. What's our plan then? So once we pass this resolution, do you have, like, are you going to work on reaching out to, like, Denise and Todd or whoever and try to see what we can do to change it?
Mr. Mayor?
We'll send it to them, we'll see what happens. It came up pretty quick, but it's almost like, I'll be honest with you, I don't know why, I don't know how it happened, we had no say, maybe we shouldn't have a say. But this thing went awfully quick, and I'm concerned about it. I really am, because I believe if they don't know that the state's going to have a problem with this, something's wrong. And that pension thing scares me just as much as anything. And the state auditor, I don't think, has ever put out the complete audit. And until that happens, I think we just sit back. It can't get any worse.
Don't say that.
Yeah, big mistake.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there any other discussion? The motion on the floor is to suspend the rules. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair. Mrs. Hanrahan.
Yes.
Mr. Senker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mupper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Please have all three readings.
A resolution expressing the City of Norwood's opposition to the tentative agreement between the City of Cincinnati and the Hamilton County Commission as to the management of the Metropolitan Sewer District and declaring an emergency. A resolution expressing the City of Norwood's opposition to the tentative agreement between the City of Cincinnati and the Hamilton County Commission as to the management of the Metropolitan Sewer District and declaring an emergency. A resolution expressing the City of Norwood's opposition to the tentative agreement between the City of Cincinnati and the Hamilton County Commission as to the management of the Metropolitan Sewer District and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Mumper.
I move the resolution be passed.
Seconded by Mr. Clark. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yeah.
Mrs. Hanrahan.
Yes.
Mr. Senker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mupper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. We'll move on to administration reports. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam President. Just a couple of things. You believe you have something on the docket about the Planning Commission's meeting and setting up. So the Planning Commission, we met and we was given a presentation on a development at Allison School in the church. I've seen renderings before and discussions. This guy's been working on this for 2 years. I'm trying to get him, I want to bring some things in because I think if it comes to council, I think they're going to want 3 readings. And so what I'm trying to get them to do is bring in some easels and stuff to put up some material for down on the first floor so people can see it. Renderings are always nice and you always hope for the best, but this concept is really neat. Taking those Allison Street School and putting in condos and then taking the church and putting in condominiums. I think they'll go from 85,000 to 140 or 150,000 for the top floor and everything, with a gym and all kinds of amenities that go with it. And it's really, like I said, it's one of those things that it's the first time I've seen anybody come to the city in years and say, I want to put in condos or I want to put in this. It's really nice, and this is something that people have been talking about for years. When are we going to do things about residential? Well, this is a start. There's another one, a house that was built on a lot where a house burnt down on Grove Avenue. So this is a start, and some realtors are telling me that shortly in the next couple of years, you'll see the trend move towards like they did Montgomery a few years ago and so on. They'll be buying up 2 homes and 2 lots and tearing them down and building. And that's that's the trend that will come. Will it be 4 or 5 years? Sure. But the trend is starting to change, and realtors are starting to discuss that possibility. And that's already being discussed now. So it's just part of a trend. It's taken a while, but it's starting to change. People are finally deciding, golly, Norwood's a good place to be, and it's centrally located. So that's part of it. The other issue is that I had a member of council say to me, rightfully so, did you know about the development on Harris Avenue? And I said, yes. And I was asked then, well, why didn't you say something? Well, we don't say anything. The developers make that decision. Well, the developers already announced it, so that frees us up. But we've been working on this for months. And this development on Harris Avenue at Zumville is a result. It all started when we figured that it was going to go, that it was going to be a good development, so we put a PUD over it. And this development is a result of that PUD. It's going to be nice. They've gotten funds to take down Zumville building and to move the electric lines. And Zumville's gated off now, and they're doing the asbestos and everything removal. So demolition should start on that soon. And like I said, they got $900,000, I believe, to either take that down and move those electric lines. So, I mean, we've made progress. We got Tri-Health going to move 400 people in. We've got that going. We're in discussions with another company for an extremely large development. So it's moving, maybe not as fast as some would like, but it is moving, and it's moving in the right direction. We still take the position that we have to protect our properties and stuff like that down the road, so we can have, the city and council can have control on what goes in there. That's all I have. If anybody's got any questions, I'll be more than happy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Bonsall.
Thank you, Madam President. With regards to the Zumville property, so we'll be giving up, I guess, is the city giving up then the right-of-way of Harris Avenue?
Yes. Well, we haven't done it yet. It's the carrot and stick. That's what we've always said. If we like what's going in there, we can work with them. We'll have the right-of-way, but yeah, we'll work with them.
And I guess the question there is, so during events at Shea Stadium, a lot of people park on Harris Avenue right now. Have you all had any discussions about them continuing to let citizens park in their new parking lot?
Yeah, I guess. I know we haven't had that discussion yet, but I don't. These individuals putting in, this is a 100,000 square office building, which we're working on kind of adding to it. And so, I don't think it'll be in trouble. These individuals seem to be really good and very cooperative, very friendly. So, I don't think it'll be a problem.
Okay, yeah.
It's one of those deals, I think we can work it out. They seem like the type that would say, don't make a difference to us. You know what I mean? So I don't think it'll be a big deal.
That's great.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other questions? Mr. Bonsall.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. So this might be a question of the law department to the mayor. I'm not sure. I'll let you decide. But I was just curious, when this time is right for the city to, sign over Harris Avenue, or that portion of it, is that something that council would vote on, or is that something that the city could?
Yes, that has to be done by ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we don't have the authority to just...
The mayor can't just give away property.
I never know.
That's by council action.
No. We always try to work with
You
council.
can try, but...
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll move on to other requests to address council, and we do have one request. Loretta Davidson, would you like to come forward? And she told me this is her first time and she's nervous, and I told her we would be nice to her. She doesn't, no reason to be nervous. If you'll give us your name and address, and you have 5 minutes to address council.
Loretta Davidson, 4407 Franklin Avenue. Go ahead, you're fine. Okay. Norwood needs to be cleaned up and people take pride where they live and work. The mayor needs to take more interest in Norwood parks, roads, streets, and schools. We need new people, new faces, and people that is interested in Norwood. Somebody needs to step up and take over. We need more police. Everyone needs to get paid. Norwood needs a lot of help. Some people have made a mess of things. It's my opinion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? I'd like to just let you know that at the last, our last Financial Planning and Supervision Commission, the commission did approve unanimously approved the financial recovery plan. So at the last meeting, I had reported that they had put it off, and so it was approved. So just to let you know that. And we have other meetings scheduled for later this month and in September. So we'll meet on a monthly basis. And all those meetings are public. They will be announced to the public. Mr. Mayor?
I mean, one of the things that came up in this Financial Planning Commission is comp time and how much is owed and what the plan is. You know, what we want to do is have the state look at it and find out what our liability is. Recently, it's come to light that some individuals have built up 1,000 hours, which it's a violation of the contract. One individual has more, the fire department, but that's been on the books for a long time. We've had a lot of discussions about that, and we are looking into it. We were told at one time that we have a contract where we're reimbursed. Well, we can't find that contract. We found one contract that says that we pay salary and everything. We was told there was another individual at Air and Task Force that has an agreement. We can't find that, and overtime keeps building. We've had individuals with DEA for years, and part of the reason for that is very simply that DEA has a larger scale, and DEA sends a lot of money after confiscated things. We are also told that the Renew sends money also, but we can't find that. And so we are really looking into that. Even though we would like to help people, we can't carry the county on our back. We're short. I'm sure the county has people that can do the job, but we have to start looking at that and finding a way to reduce it. We'd like to cooperate, but we can't afford it. And if somebody can show me where we're being paid back, that's fine, but I so far have not been able to locate that. We have one contract and we can't locate it. We know that the DEA has been sending money for years, and the police department is the only one that can spend that money. And so they've spent a lot of good with it, you know, and done some good with it and done things, and but it's the same way with the county. We're told that they send it. Well, you know, if they do, I can't find it in the agreement, and if they do, I have a feeling it should go into the general fund. It's just my thought. But it's a question that the commission had, and it was a question that others had, and we're looking into it. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something that has to be discussed and has to be basically brought under control, because it's just building out of control. I can't watch everybody. The auditor can't watch everybody. That's why we have department heads. And so, you know, that's what we do. But we've had discussions with the law department. We've had discussions with the city auditor, and we've had discussions with the state auditor. And whatever action we take, when we take it, we want to make sure it's correct and fair at the same time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there any other unfinished business? Is there any new business? Mrs. Hanahan?
I'd like to schedule a meeting for the Housing, Health, and Recreation Committee to discuss our devil strip, dog tethering, and the zoning issues we haven't gotten through cleaning yet.
So
And
devil
at the
strip
same-
and tethering and,
The zoning issues. And at the same time, I'd like to go through the chair and ask Mr. Moore, here Mr. Gary could be present at that meeting.
when were you setting it?
And possibly, can we do it sometime next week? Is Tuesday good for?
Tuesday is not good, FC Cincinnati. But Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday is great for me.
So it's Mr. Blair, Mr. Bonsall, and Mrs. Stickley?
I'm not available Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
I'm sorry?
I'm not available Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Monday, okay.
I'm not available
Available Monday, Tuesday.
Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Is it available Thursday? Okay, can we do it at Thursday, 6 o'clock, here in council chambers? And if I may go through the
So
chair
that would
again.
be Thursday, this Thursday, August the 10th, or next Thursday, the
Next
17th?
Thursday, the 17th,
Okay, so Thursday, August the 17th at
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock in council chambers. That's for the Housing, Health, and Recreation meeting.
And may I ask Mr. Moore if he can attend, or Mr. Gary, if they can make available the zoning codes or bring the ordinances with them so we can go over some of those?
Mr. Moore?
We can certainly send you the zoning code.
Okay, thank you.
You'll send notice of that out, I'm sure. Mr. Bonsall?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. So I might ask the chair of the committee, we might want to amend the wording of that instead of devil strip to be like right-of-way.
So we're going, the Housing, Health, and Recreation Committee will meet next Thursday, August 17th at 6 o'clock in council chambers to discuss the right-of-way or devil strip right-of-way, tethering, dog tethering, I'm assuming you meant, and zoning issues.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there any other new business? Is there anybody else? Mr. Sanker, did you have?
Did you have something over?
Try to alternate?
No, I
Mr.
just,
Sanker?
yes, Madam President, we're going to need to have a finance committee meeting. I've been in discussion with Mr. Stith. We need to make some changes to the appropriation so that it matches the plan that was submitted and the recovery plan. And so there'll be some multiple changes there. A lot of them are just so that everything matches in both plans. I'm waiting on Mr. Stith to give me some dates when he'd be available, and I can forward them to finance, and we can see what be a good date to get together. So, because we ultimately would like to have it changes made so we can present it at our next meeting in August, so we can have that approved and move forward. So I'll let you know the dates, and you can give me some feedback. So thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Sanker. Any other new business? Mrs. Hanahan?
I have a few things here I'd like to comment on. I'd like to comment on our police department and the fact that they're short 13 officers right now. We also have 3 that are on leave, another one is leaving, and 2 are going through the final testing with other police departments. We'll potentially be down 19 officers. We did appropriate money for testing of applicants. There are currently 17 applicants that have passed, and I'm told by the time all the testing is done, there will probably be 8 to 10 that we can employ. My understanding is that it might be January before they're working out on the streets. At present, our officers are working lots of overtime. Some have been forced to, or have overtime that's been forced up to 16-hour shifts. I don't believe, or I don't think that's considered safe for either the officers or the public. Chief Kramer has taken steps and is instituting 12-hour shifts, which should help the officers as well as potentially save the city money in overtime. He has even scheduled himself for patrol details to make sure the city is protected and relieve his officers. This I applaud him for, that he's going to be out there on the streets working with his men. He has also suggested a number of cost-cutting measures, and I hope that these can seriously be considered. I know the officers are leaving at an unusually high rate for a variety of reasons. I have heard from administrative reasons, supervision reasons, and the most is the financial. And I know there's always several sides to those stories. My thought is, can we as a city start looking at other police agencies like Hamilton County, if possible, to assist Norwood if our situation gets worse with these officers leaving? The only reason I'm bringing this up is instead of just sitting here and complaining or make comments, I'd like to be involved in trying to find a solution for some of these issues. I'd also like to address in a general way the topic of the union contracts. Several residents have asked me about the police and fire contracts. So I just wanted to go over real quick about how negotiations, I have found that they've taken place. First of all, council does not negotiate the contracts, and that's a misconception with a lot of people. The administration and their lawyers negotiate the contracts. Council then votes to approve or not approve contracts based on the discussions and the recommendations from our administration. Because of a death in my family, I was not present when council voted to approve the fire department contract with all 3 readings. Had I been present, I would have cast a no vote because we're in fiscal emergency, and I've stated that before. Now, I'm not any way criticizing anybody's vote. Everybody votes the way they want to. And I just wanted to state this, and one of the reasons is I am really disappointed with the firefighters local 445 grievance that was filed due to complement being down 1. With the situation our police department is in, we're all trying to work together to get through this. And so I would like to just echo our mayor. It says we have to change the way we do business here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hanrahan. Is there any other new business? Mr. Bonso.
Thank you, Madam President. So I guess kind of hearing from the mayor, and the mayor has his pulse on the city a little bit more than I do, but he talks about the more and more people are probably going to be looking to build housing here in the city of Norwood. And I think that's extremely exciting. I think we should all be really excited about that. But right now our housing code, or at least the code for the design of houses in Norwood, it's not, I don't think it's where it needs to be for the kind of community that we are. Like right now, it seems to me from what I've heard that we can, somebody on Ashland could build a house and put their garage right in front, of it, like you might see in Mason or, some other suburban community. And I don't know if, building houses like they're building in Mason or that, I don't know if that fits with the character of, our pre-1940s community here in Norwood. And so I don't know if we need to look at, possibly kind of having some updates. I know Chris Brown, before he left, he had a few things that he was thinking about, but I just think it might be something we might want to start looking at. And so I don't know if, I just want to bring that up, and I don't know if we want to have a housing committee. I don't know if you want to meet with the planning commission, but I just think it's something we should start thinking about doing. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonsall. Mrs. Hanrahan.
Yeah, I've been speaking with, I have spoke with Chris Brown and Greg Rose on this. And is this something you'd want to add to our housing committee meeting?
Probably not that meeting. It probably is going to need to be another one, just with all the items, but we could start meeting.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the conversation between the two of you. What, are you adding it or no?
No.
No. All right, thank you. Is there any other new business? Okay, we'll move on to communications. The first is a letter from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control regarding a permit request for Betta's Sideline.
Dear Norwood City Council, in reference to the email I sent out requesting any objections to the liquor license transfer request for Betta's Sidelines, I received responses stating no objections from the Police Department, Health Department, and the Tax Department. No other responses were received. Thank you, T.A. Brown, Secretary, Clerk of Council.
It's your pleasure, Mr. Bonso.
I move that we receive and file the letter. And then do we need to actually take any additional action, or do we need this letter?
If you have no objections, we don't have to do anything other than just receive and file it.
Yeah, I personally move that we receive and file the letter.
And seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Mr. Bonso.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. So this is a transfer, within the city of Norwood, moving from a liquor license from one location to another. And I have seen, I guess, a rendering of what is kind of proposed for the new location. And, I don't want to say too much about it because it's not my business, but I'll just say that it really looks like it's going to add value, I guess, to the city of Norwood and really to the area right there. And so I'm excited about it. I'm excited to vote yes on this.
Mr. Clark?
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I intend to vote to file this and not object, but I just wanted to pass on some concerns that I had heard. With the location, I'm excited about what development on that location with the old butternut bread place, but concerned about having a liquor license there that is available to purchase liquor till 2:30 with Xavier students being right there. I've heard from several residents about this. They're concerned. Did just want to kind of point out through research, there's another restaurant located right next door that also has a liquor license that is available till 2:30. And I think overall, I've gone back and forth. I've had discussions with other council members about this and gone back and forth. But overall, I think this will be an improvement to that area, and so that's why I will not be objecting. But I gladly take residents' concerns into account when I make my decisions. But at this point, I feel I will not be objecting.
Thank you. Mrs. Hanrahan?
Thank you, Madam President. I have also received several calls about this, the parking and the liquor license being until 12:30, and I've talked to Mr. DeLuca about this. He does have a liquor license at Betta's right now till 2:30, and he doesn't utilize that. He's not looking for that type of business. I am much more comfortable after talking to Mr. DeLuca. He's gearing his restaurant, this restaurant, for earlier in the day, and he does not want to compete with his current restaurant and the parking, and he understands if there's parking issues, that will detract from his business. So I am much more comfortable now after speaking with Mr. DeLuca on this project. Also, I spoke with the state several times on this liquor license, and it will not be granted until he has the business up and up, every chair in place, every table in place, the health department gone through the building. So I'm much more comfortable approving this, or not denying it.
Not objecting.
Objecting, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hanrahan. Mr. Sanker?
Yes, Madam President. The parking has been one of the things that come up. However, as we discussed, before the plans can even be approved, and that there'll be some contingencies that will have to be made in order for that area to be able to have the seating capacity and the amount of parking spots. So that'll all have to be approved through the building department. So I think we're a ways away, but I think it'll make that a pretty nice corner, but I don't think it's going to open tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Sanker. And Mr. Mayor, you're a member of the Planning Commission?
Yes.
Is there a comment from Planning Commission?
Yeah, I can tell you this. Will's probably doesn't really care for me that much, but I'll tell you this. He runs a good business. If there's anything he knows how to do, he knows how to run a restaurant. And I can assure you, he'll put a ton of money in down there, and he won't let anybody destroy it. And I don't think you're going to get Will to work till 2 o'clock in the morning anyway. So, and if Will's not there, the food's not made, right? So, I mean, Like I said, he's not one of my fan club, but I can tell you this, if he runs it, it'll be run right. And that's what he does, and that's what he does best. So that's just my thought. And I think I had an idea of what he was going to plan on, what he wanted to do, and I'll be a customer down there if he does it. Well, I'm not allowed to have it, but I will anyway. I mean, I can tell you this, that's a growing area, and I can guarantee you it'll fit right in.
Thank you. So the motion on the floor then is to just receive and file, which would register no objections and allow the transfer to take place. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley?
Yes.
Mr. Blair? Mrs. Hanahan?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper?
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is a letter from Chuck Barlow regarding the earning tax report for May 2017.
To Norwood City Council, attached is the monthly report for May 2017, indicating collections in the amount of $1,403,327.30. This reflects an average year-to-date increase of 12.65% over 2016. Should you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Chuck Barlow, Tax Commissioner.
Mr. Mumper.
Move the letter be received and filed.
Seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley?
Yes.
Mr. Blair? Yes. Mrs. Hanahan?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper?
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is a letter from Chuck Barlow regarding the earnings tax report for June 2017.
To Norwood City Council, attached is a monthly report for June 2017, indicating collections in the amount of $1,670,617.70. This reflects an average year-to-date increase of 14.87% over 2016. Should you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Chuck Barlow, Tax Commissioner.
Mr. Mumper.
I move the letter be received and filed.
Seconded by Mrs. Stickley. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley?
Yes.
Mr. Blair? Yes. Mrs. Hanahan?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper?
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is a letter from Chuck Barlow regarding the earnings tax report for July 2017.
To Norwood City Council, attached is a monthly report for July 2017, indicating collections in the amount of $1,563,588.73. This reflects an average year-to-date increase of 15.65% over 2016. Should you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Chuck Barlow, Tax Commissioner.
Mr. Mumper.
I move the letter be received and filed and like to comment on that one sentence. This reflects an average year-to-date increase of 15.65% over 2016. So after 7 months, we're ahead more than 15% of last year. That is highly great.
Don't spend it.
Seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Mr. Sanker.
Madam President, it just goes to show that the tax commissioner has been out rattling some chains and going door to door collecting some of these funds. So I give Mr. Barlow credit for going door to door collecting this money.
Is there any other discussion? The motion on the floor is to receive and file. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley?
Yes.
Mr. Blair? Yes. Mrs. Hanahan?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper?
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is a letter from Chief Wallace regarding appropriations to the Finance Committee through City Council.
Dear Mr. Sanker, on June 30th, 2017, I received a document from the Norwood Auditor's Office titled Purchase Order Request with Insufficient Appropriations. Based on this document, several items I have requested in my 2017 budget have not been appropriated. There are other line items I had requested due to upcoming expiration of PPE, personal protective equipment. Some of the requested items I can forego for the time being. However, the items I have listed in this letter, if not appropriated, may adversely affect our operations and in some instances potentially increase over time. In particular, the PPE replacement. If the PPE expires and I cannot outfit a firefighter, I will be forced to remove him from line operations and pay overtime to maintain minimum manning requirements. Please accept this letter as a formal request to fund the accounts listed below. Account 01084257200. Purpose, miscellaneous vendors, third and fourth quarter apparatus maintenance, $12,896. This also includes purchase of new tires for apparatus. Miscellaneous vendors, 18 sets fire suppression PPE, $50,000. Total amount requested for 01084257200, $62,896. Account 01084357300, miscellaneous vendors EMS preventative maintenance, $6,000. Miscellaneous vendors second, third, and fourth quarter EMS apparatus maintenance, $11,250. Miscellaneous vendors Narcan and other EMS supplies, $8,000. Total amount requested for 01084357300, $25,250. I'd also like to note if there are plans to purchase a new medic unit, it may be possible to reduce 01084357300 account by approximately $6,000. Thank you for your consideration regarding this request. I plan on attending this Finance Committee meeting if I am needed for questions regarding this request. Respectfully, Ron Wallace, Fire Chief, Norwood Fire Department.
Mr. Sanker.
I recommend it be received and filed and matter placed in Finance Committee.
Seconded by Mr. Mumper. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is a letter from the Planning Commission, from Mayor Williams regarding Mayor's Court fines for July 2017.
Dear Madam President and members of council, please, enclosed, please find the report for Norwood Mayor's Court for the month of July 2017. Should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, Thomas F. Williams, Mayor, City of Norwood.
Mr. Clark.
Move to receive and file the letter.
Seconded by Mrs. Stickley. Is there any discussion? Mr. Mumper.
I'd like to ask a mayor a question about this.
Mr. Mayor?
It's $11,000, $12,000, I'll give them the difference, for a month. Is it because we're down in numbers that this is happening, or is there something worse than that?
Sinister?
Mayor?
No, however you want to put it.
That's not because we're down, because contractually they're obligated to have somebody on the street anyway. So I have no idea. I don't know. Something you can ask the chief. But it's not because they're down, because they're required contractually to have so many on the street. They're required to have 6 or 5 on a night run. So it's not because we're down. I mean, one of them said, well, you know, we're down people. Well, no, contractually we have that many on the street. And now if we got to 12 hours, we have more. So, and the fact of the matter is tickets are down. There's not that many tickets being written. I mean, the clerks discussed that, the courts discussed it. I have no idea why. If I knew, it would be a different story. I think it's self-explanatory, Mr. Mumper. You feel free to look into it and let me know.
Thank you, gentlemen. Motion on the floor is to receive and file the letter. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs.
Yes.
Stickley. Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is a letter from the Planning Commission regarding public hearing request from that Planning Commission.
To Norwood City Council. On August 2nd, 2017, the Norwood Planning Commission held a public hearing for the Legacy Lots on Cortland LLC's request for a zone change from R3 to PUD R3 and approved the preliminary plan for the properties known as 4300 Allison Street, parcel numbers 651-0052-0123-90 and 651-0052-0012-90, and 2037 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel number 651-0052-0011-90, 2041 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel number 651-0052-0010-90, 2030 Weir Avenue, parcel number 651-52-0014-90, 2030 Weir Avenue, parcel number 651-0052-0014-90, 2034 Weir Avenue, parcel number 651-0052-0015-90, 2038 Weir Avenue, parcel number 651-0052-0016-90, 2042 Weir Avenue, parcel number 651-0052-0017-90, 2046 Weir Avenue, parcel number 651-0052-0018-90, and 2026 Weir Avenue, parcel number 651-003-2-0013-00. The Planning Commission unanimously voted to recommend approval in accordance with submitted plans. Per Section 1155.14 of the Norwood Zoning Code, the recommendations of the Planning Commission are to be forwarded to the Norwood City Council for public hearings and final action. It is requested that a public hearing be set no earlier than 30 days from the receipt of this memorandum. If you have any questions concerning the above, please contact me. Jerry Stoker, Building Commissioner.
Mr. Mumford.
Yes, I'd like to see us set a date for the public hearing and receive and file a letter.
And I would suggest that that date be September 26th along with the other one. So would you include that in your motion? Receive and file a letter and to set the date of the public hearing for September 26th. Seconded by Mr. Clark. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Last is a letter from Keith Moore regarding executive session.
Dear Mr. Brown, I am writing to request that council go into executive session at its August 8th, 2017 meeting to discuss pending and imminent litigation. Thank you for your consideration. Keith Moore, Norwood Law Director.
Mrs. Stickley.
I move we go into executive session for the purposes of discussing pending and imminent litigation.
Seconded by Mr. Clark. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. We will now move into executive session, so we ask that everyone leave. Seconded by Mr. Clark. I will note that Mr. Blair had to leave during the executive session. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. This meeting is hereby adjourned.